if you give a dad a podcast, then it would be of you to give it a spin or two, or go to your room. I'm in my room grounded, but I got a podcast on.
All right, everybody. Thank you for coming back to the show. My name is Jared. I am the host here at If You Give a Dad a Podcast. I am very excited to talk to my guest tonight. We've kind of been talking back and forth to get him on the show, so this is one that I'm really excited to do. He is a Texas-based wrestler. He has about 15 years experience in the business and everything. He's worked for places like WFC, Texoma Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, AEW. He's done some WWE stuff as well. Even New Japan Pro Wrestling. And I am talking about the stray dog, Barret Brown. Man, how are you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing good. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Yeah.
And, it's an honor to be on here, man. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. So, I've followed your stuff for a little bit now and everything. And so I've had different people on the show and talking about some of their favorite people to wrestle. And your name has come up quite a bit, especially when I've been talking to some of the guys in the Oklahoma scene and things like that. So having you on the show is actually pretty cool, to be able to talk to you now from the other side of having different people tell me that they've worked with you and stuff. So
awesome. Well, it's good to hear that, man. Like, that's one thing I always tried to pride myself in doing is, being some of these guys' favorite opponents. Like, I try to make it fun. I try to put on a great show for these people. And,
right.
When I have these guys wrestle me, I want to try and give them the night off, but help them make special moments. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool to hear.
That's cool. That's cool. So we'll just get kind of started, dive right in here. Yeah. What is one of your earliest memories when it comes to wrestling?
So growing up, man, I just remember on my parents' TV, WCW was always on weekly.
Yeah.
And I just remember just feeling the energy of the crowd when Goldberg would walk out. And I was just like, I want to know what that guy feels like. I don't want to know what it feels like to be a fan. I want to know what it feels like to be that guy.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of like a fire that never really died, Like, I feel like my parents thought it was a phase.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at one point it kind of dipped until I grew up and I was like, no, I want to do this. Like, I want to know what that feels like.
Yeah.
So that was just like in my old house with them, watching Goldberg do his thing. I was like, I need to know what that feels like, man. So that was it.
That's cool. That's cool. So where did you train at? I mean, how did you get started on this journey to where you're at now?
So funny enough, my mom went to school with a guy that he's just kind of a local wrestler in the area.
Mm-hmm.
He happened to have a ring at his house. He lived right by where my parents, where they live, where they raised me.
Mm-hmm.
And she hit him up because they figured out, like, okay, well, this can't just be a face. He wants this. And so he agreed to take me under his wing. And when I was 15 years old, on October 16th of 2009,
mm-hmm.
I started training under him. And I think that initially it was like a case of, okay, I'm going to take his parents' money and just beat the kid up and send him on his way. I'm saying October 26th. So it was right before Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was kind of like, I took my first bump and knocked all the air out of me. I couldn't move and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was like, oh, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And so, I fell in love with it. And he was like, oh, he's part of the team. He's going to stick around. I kept going. And then from Cody Cunningham, I went to Killer Tim Brooks
mm-hmm.
in Waxahachie, Texas,
okay.
Formed a bond with him. And then from there, man, it was just a string of different mentors on the road. And the road became my mentor. All these seminars and places I went, I seeked, I put an effort into wrestling guys that knew more than I did.
There you go.
So I wanted to get my experience, not just wrestle the same guys, but I wanted to wrestle guys that were better than me, that knew more than me,
right.
So I could learn.
Yeah.
And that's kind of really what got me to where I am today, man.
That's awesome. And I hear that, hearing interviews with other people, who have been, that's the guys that they're looking for, is the ones that are actually saying, what can I do to make myself better, and actually do something to change what they're doing, not just hear it in one ear out the other and continue what they're doing, but, to perfect what you're doing. Always got to be learning. Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny, man. I did another podcast not that long ago, and it was a guy that he's wrestled here and there. And he said something to me that really stuck with me. And it was just, the verbiage was like, I was like, when no one's ever said it this well, But he said, and I do this as well. He said, I will hit up someone that I trust and that I will learn from. I'll send them a link and I'll say, hey, tell me what you liked and then make me hate this match with your critique. And I was like, I love that.
Okay.
And, because you always hear, as a wrestler, you go to the back, and I will hear a lot of the times from these guys like, man, it was great. It was awesome. Like, it was perfect. You did great.
Yeah.
And from guys I trust, I'm like, what can I do to improve? Don't just tell me you liked it. I don't care if you liked it. What could I have done better?
Right.
And I feel like a lot of guys, especially newer guys, they can kind of get in their feelings whenever they're told what they did wrong.
Yeah.
But that's how you improve. If you just say, hey, you did everything perfect, then apparently you can't get any better.
Exactly.
So,
and I also feel like when people hear that enough, if they don't know better, that's when they start making mistakes, because they're like, oh, I'm good. And so they start kind of slacking off a little bit, I think.
100%. They kind of get complacent, and then it just becomes repetitive. And then if you've got nothing else to show the people, why would they want to see you anymore? Like, you have no tricks, you know what I mean? So
exactly. Yeah. I actually got to witness this firsthand, going to a Diamond State Wrestling show here, because that's kind of where I'm at, is Northwest Arkansas. So I got to see some of the guys that wrestled. It was one of their, they're new in the business, and then they go backstage, and Luke Langley's back there, and there's some other guys back there, and they kind of just get in a circle and say, okay, well, this is what you did. Maybe try this next time, and it was really cool to kind of see that teaching moment happen backstage. It's cool to experience that even from an outsider's perspective.
Absolutely. And you never know, that one critique could be that like light bulb moment that just takes them from where they're at and levels them up.
Exactly.
Because for me it was, and for any wrestler that watches this, you may burn me at the stake for what I'm going to say, and that is okay. I say this at all the seminars that I run in my training facility. There was a moment I had, it was like in 2014 or 15. I wrestled ACH in Austin, Texas. And something happened where I realized that my idol, Shawn Michaels, might have been wrong about something. And it blew my mind. But in practice, I realized it.
Okay.
So if you think about a Shawn Michaels match.
Okay.
Every time he hits the super kick and he falls away, and he drapes the arm, they always kick out. But if he kicks it, falls on him, it's always the finish. He always telegraphed his finishes. So I took that to heart. So in Austin, I hit my Swanton Bomb, which was the finish at the time.
Yeah.
And Shawn Michaels mentality, I hit the Swanton, I sold away, and I heard Albert whispering, cover, now, now, now. And my head's like, I can't. That goes against what I believe. But I jumped on and flipped the leg. When he kicked out and that place exploded, I literally head to toe went cold.
Yeah.
And I had just like this moment of revelation, like, wow, maybe Shawn in his practices was wrong about this. So it kind of like, I had to reevaluate a lot of things in that moment.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, maybe Shawn really telegraphed all his finishes, and I never realized it.
I never realized that either. I'm gonna have to go back and look, because he's one of my favorites,
Absolutely. And this is not me. Like, he made more money than I ever will. Like, I am not one to critique Shawn Michaels because he's one of the greatest of all time. But that moment of realization for me was huge.
Yeah.
Because I was like, wow, that made me feel something. And I leveled up after that, you know what I mean? So it helped me out a lot,
Well, I mean, when it comes to the crowd, the more you can surprise them in the match, the better it is, because you're telling a story and you're trying to, draw emotion out of them. And when they think, oh, it's over. Oh, no, it's not,
Absolutely.
Like you said, that pop that you got there.
Yeah, 100%. And, I teach, when I have guys going from the ground up, there are 7 steps to a wrestling match.
Uh-huh.
And not to break the fourth wall too much, but I'll just say what they are. Because, I mean, so you have your shine, your cutoff, your heat, hook spots, comeback, waterfall, and then the finish. That is like the basic layout of every wrestling match. Yeah. But then you've got guys like Brock Lesnar that make a lot of money because they take that mentality and throw it against the wall and it shatters. Right. And he'll just pick up like a piece he wants to go into.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the way that we can kind of bring kayfabe back is breaking that mold, because every indie match you see, even on TV, it's those 7 steps.
Right.
But when Brock Lesnar squashed John Cena at SummerSlam 2014
Yeah.
and hit an F5 to start the match,
yeah,
it blew people's minds because they're like, they skip steps 1 through 5.
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, you're not
I
used
feel
to
like
seeing
they're
John Cena just get manhandled like that.
100%.
So
100%. And it was all, to help bring back the aura of Brock Lesnar, and they did it beautifully.
They did. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to ask about this, the stray dog. Where does that come from?
So a few things went into the thought process of the character of the stray dog. So initially it stemmed from the name that was given to my faction at New Japan Pro Wrestling, the Stray Dog Army, which collectively was just 3 guys that had nothing really going on that banded together as stray dogs to wreak havoc on New Japan.
Yeah.
So once, kind of the format shifted and we weren't booked as much, I decided to take on the moniker of the stray dog because in my mentality, I was thinking, as a wrestler, I don't have a home. I don't have a contract.
Yeah.
But I go to these big houses, these big companies, and I'm almost always fed a meal. I'm given a match, I'm given something, but I'm never let inside. I'm just a stray dog wandering house to house. I don't have a home.
Yeah.
And now the whole mindset is I'm fed up, and now your home is no longer safe.
I like that.
So that's where it comes from. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There was another gimmick that I saw that you had for a while. I think that it was was it 15 to 17 that you had the gimmick of the Americos with the mask and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. What was the inspiration behind coming up with that gimmick, and what happened with it?
So ironically, I was doing I was working for a Arkansas-based company called Traditional Championship Wrestling.
Okay.
That they had a pretty large TV production.
Yeah.
Like when they were ranked above Ring of Honor at the time.
Oh wow. Okay.
So they eventually got a national TV slot. Mm-hmm. They wanted to use me, but at the time I was still like 18 or 19. I had a buzz cut, no facial hair. I looked like I was 13 years old. and they were like, listen, we want to push you. You're very good. But the believability of you fighting these grown men wouldn't appeal to TV. It wouldn't be believable.
Gotcha.
They said, we have an idea for this patriotic luchador. So what we're thinking about doing is writing you off, like you getting fired. And then immediately this new guy debuts in a mask, has your same tattoos. Like, it's like the Dusty Rhodes Midnight Rider gimmick, right? Like, it's obviously him, but no, Barret Brown's gone, but we got Americos now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was honestly made for me to make more money, appeal to the kids.
Yeah.
To realistically put me against these bigger guys, to make me a superhero.
Yeah.
And just to get this gimmick that they saw, that they thought of on TV.
Right.
And they were like, you're the perfect person to fit that mold. And it took off for a while. Like it became my primary gimmick for a bit because that was how I debuted for, Monday Night Raw against Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, man, I enjoyed it, but I'm very happy things happened like they did, that I'm now fully myself again.
Right.
Because I believe that the best characters are just an amplification of who you are. I love this country, but I'm not the biggest patriot in the world. You know what I mean? Like America, oh my God, he loves America.
Yeah.
Not that I don't, but he's a bigger fan of it than I am. You know what I mean? So, but
it's his whole personality.
Yeah, it was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not regretful for it at all. And if I were to give any advice to some of these younger wrestlers that may see this, at least in training, please wear a mask. At some point, wear a mask. And I say that because think about this. Dude, in a weird way, it helped my facials so much. Okay. Because with my face being hidden, my body language was amplified, which amplified this under the mask.
Right.
This came naturally with my body language.
Yeah.
So think about how good Sami Zayn's facials are. And he was El Generico for how long?
Long time.
Because of the mask.
Yeah.
So even in training, I recommend a lot of these new guys wear a mask at some point because, dude, it will help tremendously. I say the joke now that that Americos is now with El Generico and Juan Cena raising orphans in Mexico. Braun Strowman kicked him across the border and he never came back. So that's where he's at now. And I hope he's doing well.
I'm sure he's loving life over there.
I'm
Yeah.
sure he is. Yeah.
So you brought something up there just a second ago, and when it came to the wearing a mask, you're not the first one who said that to me before about, even here's what I was told. There's some of these companies, that aren't that big, that so you want to wear a mask, with when you're first starting out, because you're still trying to set your name, set yourself apart. And so say something were to go wrong when you're in those first couple of matches. Well, you're wearing a mask in that. So you have a little bit of, they don't see your face, kind of thing. So
exactly.
It's a smart idea,
Yeah, it's kind of like a cheat code, man. If you mess up something, like they're never gonna know who it is under the mask. They'll never know the difference, right? So it's a very good point. Very good point.
Who would you say, and I probably know one of these because we've already talked about a wrestler here, but who would you say are your biggest inspirations when it comes to even your character and your wrestling style?
So Shawn Michaels early on definitely was one of the first inspirations for me.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't the biggest guy, but he was larger than life.
Right.
Obviously guys like Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, just guys more my size that paved the way. Yeah. I would say in the modern era, probably guys like Bryan Danielson, AJ Styles has always been a favorite of mine.
Yeah.
I would say right now, one of my biggest inspirations and who is at the top of my list of dream matches to have would be Katsuyori Shibata.
Okay.
Because we may cover some of my LA Dojo stuff, but he became my sensei for a while at the LA Dojo.
Okay.
He basically made me like an unofficial fifth young lion in that house anyway.
Oh, wow.
And just, he is the best trainer on the planet. He wants all his guys to succeed. And just for what he really did to me, like to help instill he took what I knew at the base level and amplified everything.
Right.
And just to see how like his thought process, how he trains and how much he cares about the business really blows my mind. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, because it's just really cool to know this.
Yeah.
He suffered that injury that took him out for a long time.
Right.
And when he headbutted Okada and had that injury,
mm-hmm.
his emergency surgery, he told us at the dojo that he had a 12% chance of survival.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he made it through, and then he decided that he wanted to run the LA dojo so he could remain in the business.
Yeah.
And the fact that now he's back at it at AEW I'm so happy for him.
Right.
I'm so happy for him. And I got to see him at this last show when I did security at AEW. I got to see him. I ran out. He was stretching for his match, and I just kind of tapped on him, and he looked up. He goes, "Oh, hello!" And it was just like really cool to see him again.
Yeah,
so he would be at the top of my list right now. Yeah,
that's awesome. So, how did you get into the LA Dojo?
So I had just seen posts about them opening up the dojo to like camps. Mm-hmm. And welcoming people to do like not really tryouts per se, but just kind of like camps at the dojo.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the company I've always wanted to work for. Right. And I'm going to bet on myself. And so I went, had to really like relearn a lot of the foundation of what I had initially went in learning. Like they teach a very different style.
Yeah.
But man, I could like, I've got like 12 lanyards on my wall over here of like all the times I went up there. It got to the point to where Shibata was like, no pay, just come stay at house with us. And
wow.
Yeah, I got to stay with them like the last.
You were one of the boys then, man.
Yeah, like we got to eat Chonko Nabe with Shibata. We went out. I got to watch Shibata. Okay, this could have broke the dirt sheets. I've got a video on my old phone of a shirtless Shibata standing on a table singing "Stand By Me" at a karaoke bar.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, man, it was a lot of fun.
That would be funny to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have you already said the one there. Would you say that's your number one dream opponent that you have? Or do you have another one?
I feel like default he is number one, but my close number two happened in Minoru Suzuki.
Okay.
But I would say like there's kind of a toss up between like number three, which would be naturally AJ Styles or Will Ospreay.
Okay.
I'd say that those two are kind of right there.
Yeah.
For sure. But I feel like honestly AJ would probably take that spot by a small margin because just AJ still operating at his age at the level he operates at is unfreaking believable.
I know.
And he looks like a brick house, man. He looks so good right now.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He's one. Whenever I saw him show up in WWE, I freaked out, because
I did too.
I was such an AJ fan whenever he was in TNA. He was great. And I would have liked to, this is just me as a fan, I would have liked to seen more with him. I know he's had some injuries and setbacks and things since he's been in WWE, but he's had some title runs and everything, but I wanted to see more because I know he's one that could carry the company, because he's amazing. So he's up there in my top, because of just how easy he makes it look.
Yeah, I've never seen him not be smooth in the ring.
Right.
I could not even imagine a bad AJ Styles match. Like he has got to try to have a bad match.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well, there's a reason why they call him the phenomenal one.
100%. He's nothing short of phenomenal.
Right. So when you're not doing wrestling, do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, I mean, so literally out this door behind me, I have my home gym and a wrestling ring. So this is where I train guys, where I train myself.
Okay.
So a lot of any like stresses I have or frustrations are taken out there, either on somebody else or on myself.
Yeah.
So I always have access to that whenever I need it. I am a gamer when I need to be. When I need to just mentally check out and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I'll pop on a video game and I'll play something.
There you go.
Otherwise, like I wear a few different suits. So like I'm a wrestling trainer, a personal trainer, a group trainer, construction for my grandparents every once in a while. So yeah, I've got a lot of stuff that keeps me busy, man. It really does not stay boring around where I'm at. So
busy guy, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that just from talking to you and trying to get this set up. You are a busy dude, I mean, you've got a lot going on, and it's a real, like I said, it's a real pleasure having you on here.
Appreciate you having me, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have any goals set for this next year?
So coming into this year, I felt like last year I did have some cool opportunities, like with AEW, Ring of Honor, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I felt at least, moving around on the indie circuit, I kind of got complacent and comfortable.
Right.
And this year has been just more about getting more out of the comfort zone, traveling more. And so I'll say this, I have 4 new countries confirmed that will happen this year. I cannot name one of them, but I will say in April, I've got Australia.
Okay.
In August, I'll be going to Germany. September, I cannot disclose yet. And then in November, I'm going to Rome.
Wow.
So I'm going to add some flags to the resume so I can put them on my freaking bio on social media. Finally,
It'll look like Franco Vargo with all those little flags up there.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that's the plan for this year, man, is just to travel more, get out of the comfort zone, and to see what can land in my lap, man. Yeah. So I hit 15 years on the 17th of January.
Well, happy anniversary.
Well, thank you, man. And so when that day came, that officially meant that I've spent more time in my life in the business than outside of it, because I'm 30 years old.
Wow.
And so I've now been in it longer than I was out of it. So I feel like it's time to just try to really put it into high gear and see if I can make something happen, man. So we'll see.
There you go. I did want to talk about one spot that you probably get asked about this a lot.
Okay.
And it's the table spot at Hall of Fame.
Yeah, buddy.
How did that come about?
Yeah, so I did a couple of WrestleCon shows that weekend.
Yeah.
One of them for Wildcat Sports ran by Luke Hawks, and Luke has some connections with the WWE. And so I had my match, I think it was against Caleb Conley, actually, at that WrestleCon. And Luke was like, "Hey, what are you doing tomorrow?" And I was like, "I'm just going to kind of walk around and see if I can get booked." He was like, "Be at I think it was at the Smoothie King Arena or something like that in New Orleans." He was like, "Be up there. You'll do extra for the Hall of Fame." So I went there, and he said, "Expect to do like Goldberg security, like, the big walkout for Goldberg."
Right. Yeah.
Which I was like, "Well, that's really cool," because that was like my first favorite. So that'd be dope.
Yeah.
And so I get there, get checked in, go to catering, see all the extras that are there. We're just hanging out. And then a producer comes and grabs a guy. He's like, "Hey, come with me." So he leaves, and he comes back to the table like 3 minutes later. He's like, "Who is the smallest guy in the group?" And everyone just looked at me naturally, and I was like, "That's me."
Yeah.
So I go with the producer, and he's like, "Yeah, so that guy was apparently too heavy, but we may use you for the Dudley Boyz table spot." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I get to the stage, and Bubba and Dudley are both there.
Yeah.
Bubba and Devon are both there, and Devon's like, "Hey man, let me just pick you up, see how you feel." He picked me up, he was like, "Yep, that's our guy." And I was like, "All right." And Bubba was like, "Just like Mae Young, kid. Just like Mae Young. Just take your head, we're gonna go to the table." I was like, "All right, brother, I got you." And so that's how that whole thing came about, man. And then after we got done with the spot, I was back in the dressing room, and Bubba walked through the hallway, and he looked in. He was like, "Hey, kid." He's like, "Hell of a job. Thank you." I was like, so that was a really cool night. And that's one that I've got it, saved on my YouTube playlist. So.
Yeah. I think it's on your website too, isn't it? Right below your reels and everything. So yeah. 100%. What would you say is your favorite match that you've had?
Oh man, don't ask me that one. That's
tough. I know. Yeah.
So I would default to the match with Minoru Suzuki.
Okay.
WrestleMania weekend in 2022.
Okay.
Just for a lot of reasons, like he has been right up there with Shibata at the top of my list for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I really wanted to test myself against someone like that everyone's fearful of, that everyone was, just like, "Oh, he's going to kill you." And I was like, I want to know. Like, if there's one test, it's got to be him.
Yeah.
And that show started at midnight. So we did midnight after. Yeah. So midnight after Mania, we were main event. So he and I wrestled at 3 a.m. and he wanted to still go.
Oh, wow.
Which surprised me.
Yeah.
And just, it could not have gone any better. And we had our own room to ourselves. So I got to pick his brain for 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the match, he sat down. He was, taking off his wrestling boots, and he was like, he goes, that match I very much enjoy. Thank you so much. You are very good. I was like, I can retire now, dude. I'm good.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm great. Like I'm set now after hearing that. But
you can get a better compliment than that.
That's all that I needed.
Yeah.
And I would say like a close second would be, I think it was 2014. I wrestled Cowboy Bob Orton.
Okay.
In Arkansas. So, and all we talked about, he got there, and I shook his hand. I said, "Hello, sir. I'm Barrett. Nice to meet you. I'm your opponent tonight. What would you like to do?" And he took a deep breath. He was like, "Let's just not get hurt, brother." And I said, "Say less." And then we just went out there and we worked. He grabbed a wrist lock, and the crowd chanted, "This is awesome."
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, could not get any easier than this. And then he hooked a suplex. He said, "Small package, kid." And I hooked him. He did kick out 1, 2, 3. He put me over. And I was like,
yeah.
All right. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So being in Texas area and stuff, there's a ton of wrestling there. Like, dude,
it's
everywhere you
so
look.
Big, man. Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah. It's like there's two things that Texas has a surplus of that I've found over the last few years, and that's wrestling companies and Comic-Cons. They're everywhere. So
They're everywhere.
I know you've done some work with Texoma, and you still do some work with MPX, I believe, as well, don't you?
Every once in a while, yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's so MPX itself, it's been a couple of years.
Okay.
But there are other companies that will use that that building for their stuff as well.
Okay.
Matter of fact, this past Sunday, myself and another worker that goes by Sky de Lacrimosa, we had our third annual Showcase for the Immortal, which is a show kind of memorializing our friend Jason Silver that passed away due to epilepsy 3 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
So we had a sold-out crowd on Sunday. Could not have gone any better.
Yeah.
Got to kind of introduce Jason Silver's nephews to the business.
That's cool.
To close out the show. So it was very good, and actually got you can see like a 3D print of our buddy.
Oh, cool.
That his sister made for me. So
oh wow,
it was a good night, man. But yeah, MPX. I'm a big fan of theirs because they're very, it's hard to find weekly shows that draw like they do, and they can put on consistent good shows and stories.
Right.
But also that they can accommodate other companies too. So yeah, I'm a fan of theirs.
Yeah. I liked how they were doing Twitch, and I was like, I didn't know any other ones that were actually doing it at that time. And so I jumped in on that, and I was like, this is actually pretty innovative to be able to jump on there and have something like that.
It is.
I mean, still, I don't know of a lot of companies that are utilizing something like that.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of companies are really missing out on, a lot of eyes that could be on them by not utilizing that. But MPX, I think that they kind of shot themselves in the foot at first.
Yeah.
Because they were streaming like the entire show.
Yeah.
And they realized, everyone's watching from home for free.
Right.
Let's give them half the show.
Yeah.
You want to see the back half, you got to be here. And I was like, that's what you got to do. So, yeah.
I know of some that do, like YouTube and things like that,
Yeah.
I mean, you can do different things with that. It's a matter of social media is such a big thing nowadays, making sure that you're relevant on social media can make or break your company.
Absolutely.
Even with what I'm doing here, if I wasn't doing social media, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now because I mean, we started talking because of TikTok, and so it's because of things like that, you have to be in all these places to stay relevant.
Yeah, 100%. And social media for the most part is free. Like it's free advertisement too.
Right.
That's just like, I believe that cable is pretty much almost dead now. Like everything is streaming, everything is online services now.
Right.
So I don't know, like Texoma is an example of one that for the most part, they'll stream their shows on YouTube.
Yeah.
Which I think is very smart. I mean, I feel like it has affected a lot of their in-person fan base because some of the shows are hit or miss as far as the attendance.
Right.
But you still have eyes online too.
Yeah.
So
one that I'm noticing, like I talked about before, is Diamond State Wrestling in this area.
Yeah.
They're traveling now too. They're going to different towns that don't have a lot of cool events like this coming there, and so they're getting people that go to these events because they don't have anything else going on there. But on the flip side, they're putting it on YouTube, so they're getting those people that are seeing it that maybe wouldn't normally be able to see it as well. So being able to travel in an area, try to take advantage of all of those things at once. I mean, I think it's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a lot of these companies that stay in one spot, but then like when they can travel around and get new fans, that's always beneficial for your company. Absolutely.
Definitely. So do you have a funny road story that you can tell me, or just a memorable road story that you could tell me?
Let me see. Goodness, man. So I was okay. So I was road tripping with a couple of guys. One was Tim Storm. The other has since been blacklisted from the business, so I can't really say his name.
Okay.
But these two were arguing about their careers. And so just playful banter. And they went to go inside to use a restroom at a gas station. And I was good. And so I just stayed in the car. And so I'm waiting. And I look, and Tim is laughing. The other guy he's pissed. You can tell he's so mad.
Yeah.
They get back in the car, and I'm like, what happened? And Tim laughed. He was like, we're talking about the best moment in our wrestling careers. And the other guy was like, yeah. He's like, I thought I had him because I was like, I had a whole like Ring of Honor crowd chant F you. And then he's like, and Tim goes, yeah, but I took a super kick from Shawn Michaels. And he was like, fuck you, Tim, you know, like.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's other ones, man, just off the top of my head. I can't. Okay, hold on. This isn't a road story, but this happened backstage.
Okay.
And I can say this because this is about Jason Silver. Now that he's no longer with us, I can tell stories about him because he can't come after me for it unless he haunts me, which he probably will for this. When I was very early on in my career, we had a show in Garland, Texas, and he was there with his buddy that helped run this show we did on Sunday.
Okay.
And so his buddy Sky he's going through his bag. He's like kneeling on the ground going through his bag. And Silver just drops his pants. He's right next to me. He goes, hey, Sky. And Sky turns with his mouth open, says, huh? And almost.
Oh, no.
And I was still like in my first year. And I'm like, I don't know if I have what it takes to be in this business. I don't know if I have what it takes.
Yeah.
Like, this is insane. So, yeah. So I'm sure there's other ones I'm forgetting about, but those two kind of stand out.
Yeah.
I would say another one was where we had a guy that was a natural ribber. He would just rib everybody that was around.
Yeah.
And so we decided to get him back, myself and my buddy Izzy James.
Mm-hmm.
It was time for the main event of a show that this jokester was on, and he was in the main event. And he went to the restroom, and he was notorious for like putting on his stuff at the last second.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We rubbed icy hot all on the inside of the crotch of his singlet. And he already had his boots and knee pads on. He was ready to go. He just had to slip the singlet on.
Yeah.
And we caked this on. And his music was playing as he put his singlet on. And right as he put it on, he just like, you can see his soul leave his body.
Oh,
and his music was playing. We were like, have fun, bud. Go kill it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, stuff like that.
That's good. That's funny. I like those.
Yeah.
A good story, you know, of a rib or something in the back is
Right.
always fun to hear. So you said that you actually train in your backyard and everything. Is that the stray dog dungeon that you're talking about?
That is a stray dog dungeon. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
How
sir.
long have
That
you
is
been running that?
So the ring got set up, I believe it was like April of 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So, you know, obviously the ring has had to like, we've had to replace some boards and some padding and stuff like that over the years. But
yeah,
I've been blessed, man, to have had a lot of people come in and out of here and trust me with their time and with my advice and stuff. He may deny this, but I have video proof. He does know I have video proof of this. But before Lance Archer wrestled Cody Rhodes at that AEW pay-per-view for the things like the TNT title.
Okay. Yeah.
I've got videos of him doing like springboards in my ring. Like he was
cool.
out here with me getting the rust off, and I was like, I've got this for blackmail just in case, but I've got you. So, but no, I've been here for a while, man, and it's become a regular thing. I've got like a group of guys. Matter of fact, Jason Silver's nephews, they come train with me every Wednesday.
That's cool.
So I'll see them tomorrow, and yeah, I've got something really cool here, cool going on here, man. So.
That's great. Well, and the thing is I can tell you have a passion for it, you know, even with the training and everything. So, you know, it's nice to see that you're passing the knowledge on to that next group because, you know, not everybody is looking to do that. You know, there's some of them that are still they want to get themselves over, you know, and so seeing you do that and try to teach that next generation, you know, I love seeing that.
I appreciate it, man. Like this business in a way saved my life. Like it gave me a reason to be who I am. And if giving back to this business means giving, you know, advice to those that are coming up after me, that I'll gladly do. Man, I love teaching. It's why I'm also like a fitness coach too. I love helping people. So.
Yeah. So there's a couple things that came up whenever talking about TikTok.
Yeah.
I think the first video that I saw you were doing, I want to say it was either 2,000 or 7,000 squats.
Yeah.
Within like a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
What made you decide, you know what, I'm going to do a video of doing all of these squats? Because good Lord, I imagine you couldn't stand after it.
Yeah, that was rough. That was rough. I think it took a little over, or like right under 3 hours to the 7,000.
Yeah.
So the catalyst of that was I had heard a rumor that Jushin Liger's squat record was 5,000. So last year I decided I was going to do it that December. No, in 2023, I was like, okay, December this year, I'm going to match it or go like one beyond 5,000 and try to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did it. It sucked. It took 2 hours and I wanted to die. And then like literally as I'm at like 4,500, a comment pops up that was like, hey, did you know that the Great Muta did 7,000 in Japan? I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, I'm not doing that today, but maybe next year. And then by like December of last year, I was like, shit, now I got to do 7,000. I promised I would last year.
Yeah.
And so that's where that came from. I was like, okay, I got to try and break the Great Muta's record now. We got to 7,010. I sat down immediately after that. I ate a bowl of Fruity Pebbles and I passed out.
Is Fruity Pebbles your go-to for like a treat after doing something like that?
It's usually not, but I was feeling it that day and I needed some Fruity Pebbles. So that was, my body was screaming it. Yeah, I was, yeah. So I will say like the tradition on like a road trip, if I'm like, just going from town to town or whatever, usually if I can find a Whataburger, that's where I'm going to go because calories don't count after a show, in my opinion. That's just my philosophy is calories don't count. So I'll go get me a Whataburger and then go wherever I need to go after that. So
what do you go for with that Whataburger?
They got the Monterey melt. That's what I'm going after. Is the Monterey melt or the patty melt is what I'm going to get.
All right.
If I'm super hungry, I'll get those. If I'm feeling okay, I'll just get like a double cheeseburger or something like that. Yeah. So yeah.
I'm a sweet and spicy guy myself. I like those.
Those are good, man. That's like a close third for me. I've done it. They're pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you had the Monterey melt before?
No, I haven't actually. I'm pretty okay. I think it's out right now.
Some spice to it, not too much, but it's pretty good. I recommend it, man.
Yeah, we just got a few up here in Northwest Arkansas over the last, 5 or 6 years. We've gotten those, and so now it's been more than that now because my timelines are off, man. I'm a dad, so I'm
at the flat circle, man.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we've got Whataburger up here now, and that's probably one of my favorites to go to. And it's funny. There's a lot of different wrestlers who tell me that they go to Whataburger after their match and stuff. So yeah. So would you say that? Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here.
You're good, man.
Oh, there was one other thing that came up, and this actually cracked me up that I found today, and it's a little sad. You got beat up a little bit by your own girlfriend. And you got chokeslammed by her after you were trying to go and chokeslam her, and she turned it around on you, man.
Man, I know it. She put me through the ring almost, man. Yeah. We have kind of discussed making like a little series on TikTok of like me requesting moves, but like she always reverses it into the same chokeslam. So that may be something that we start doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, like she is not a wrestler herself, and like she doesn't have the best knees. So I always want to make sure that she's taken care of. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I was like, man, a good choke slam would be good for her just to do every time. And I just like, someone's like, give her a swanton. I miss. Take the choke slam. Give her a tombstone. She flips out of it. Take the choke slam. Just all this nonsense.
Well, and those kind of videos actually do really well online too.
They do.
So you do it, man.
They do.
So
it was like that video and then the Penta video both just like got some good numbers on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So how was it wrestling Penta? I see. I got to, like I told you at the beginning, I was watching that little clip. And from what I saw, it looked amazing, and I'm gonna have to go find that full match now to watch that.
Yeah, it is on my channel. It was simultaneously just like a dream and a night off. He was so easy. He was so nice.
Yeah.
He was just one of the guys, man. And he just wanted to have a really good match and have fun. Like we threw a trash can at each other at one point. We just did everything. I took the arm break. I took the destroyer.
Yeah.
He was still taking like I did a full poison Hurricane Rana. Like we went in on that night, man. It was good.
That's cool.
He was just very respectful, had no ego about him at all. And honestly, I got to, speaking of him, I worked with Phoenix as well before. I did a triple threat with Phoenix and Ray Horace, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And they're the same way. Like, all three of those guys are just down to earth, no ego. They just want to have fun, be safe, and put on a good match.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have guys like that, man.
Well, you were saying at the beginning about when you were Americo that it was a luchador and doing that luchador style. Do you like doing that style of wrestling, or do you prefer doing a more hard-hitting style?
I prefer what I do now, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay.
I'll pull out the high-flying stuff when I need to.
Yeah.
But I do prefer to, like, build up to those moments. I prefer for those, if I'm going up for a high risk,
yeah,
I want to build up to it. Like, I don't want to just give it away, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like, now that I'm 15 years in, I'm trying to, pick and choose my moments more now.
Yeah.
And I just want to really, like, make it mean something when I do something big like that, and not just give it away for free, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's psychology right there. Why am I doing this? I have to go to this because I'm not getting where I need to get to, in this match. So,
I mean, I can, if I need to go, I'll go.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But for the sake of, like, a story and making people feel something, if I can build up to it, that's what I would rather do.
Yeah.
Because I'm very big on, like, teasing something initially.
Yeah.
Then it getting stopped and then getting back to it somehow really cool. People are like, oh, he did the thing that he was trying to do earlier. It must be his move. Oh my God, So.
It's I mean, emotion, like I said before, you're
Absolutely.
building that emotion. That is the biggest part, is how are you making them feel?
Exactly.
That's what they're going to remember, is that feeling.
Absolutely. I did a seminar actually at NPX one time. This was pre-pandemic. This was right before Sammy Guevara got signed.
Okay.
They were having an event in Dallas for VIP wrestling, and Sammy was in, like, this big, like, 6-man free-for-all, whatever. And one of the guys that was attending the seminar was in the same match, and he was supposed to be one of the heels in the match. And he asked me, he said, with Sammy being in the match, he said, what do I need to do to get heat? And I said, well, why do you think they're there to see Sammy? He said, well, because he's going to do, like, his 630 and his stuff. I said, yeah. So you be the reason he doesn't do any of it. I said, if you want heat, you stop him every time he does it.
Yeah. He
said, oh my God. I said, and then when he does do it, he does it to you.
Yeah.
He was like, dude. And that's it. That's all you got to do. Just stop him, then he gets you with it. That's it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So we're kind of coming up close to a close here. I got a few more questions for you, and then we'll get you off of here. Do you have a favorite feud?
A favorite? So one of mine personally?
Yes. We can do both. We can do favorite feud, in wrestling, and then, favorite feud in your wrestling.
The favorite personal feud of mine would have to be with my buddy Izzy James, because we came up around the same time. We told, like, man, a 2-year-long story at NPX.
Okay.
I feel like we touched on every emotion possible. I would say a close second would be something that I kind of wrote myself for a local company in Rockwall.
Okay.
And I turned heel. I was like the champ at this company, put this guy through a bunch of trials just to build him up. And then it was like title versus career. It led to a cage match with a sold out crowd. And the response to him beating me was so loud that the camera women had to, like, cover their ears and leave. Like, that was,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, man, we got him. That's what this is about. So a lot of, like, intricate details to that, but the payoff was perfect. As far as one that sticks out to me, like, that I just remember watching on TV, I would say Shawn Michaels and Jericho, when Jericho punched his wife.
Yep.
Dude, that was so good. That was such a good story.
It is. Yeah.
If I had to go, like, just super mainstream, I would default to Randy and Cena, because I believe that in December, Randy should be Cena's final opponent, just for the sake of history.
Yep, I agree.
So, but I go to those.
Yeah. I will say this. I was already a Jericho fan because my two favorites, probably when it comes to anything, is Jericho is probably my number one, and then Shawn Michaels is up there too. So those two together, but that heel work that he did during that time, whenever he was using the over the top vocabulary and wearing the suit, you know, and all that, I loved that heel Jericho. That was one of my favorites.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, question for you. Who, you have to name one wrestler that should have held a world title that never did.
Okay.
Mine would be Regal.
That's a good one. Yeah. Regal. Yeah.
And I say that because he told me something about heel work that blew my mind.
Yeah.
He said that when he thinks about being a heel, he thinks about things that he dislikes about people in real life. He'll put that in his character. So, like, he literally sat on a plane next to a guy that had, like, his own name initial on, like, a cufflink. And he was like, what a snobby prick. He called his wife, I need this done immediately. Yeah, I was like, that's so good.
That is good. I will say he's, unless you're talking to a wrestler who knows, you know, or somebody who's actually, you know, watched the business and stuff, I think he's extremely underrated, you know, because he is one. Yeah, you're right. I think that's probably the best answer that you can give is.
I think so. Like, I can only imagine like a pure heel Regal title run would have made so much money just because of the chase. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Dude, even just his facial expressions when he would come out, just how annoyed he looked that he had the
and like his walk, you know, with the hand, but like everything was spot on. Yeah,
it was perfect. And everybody talks so highly of him. You know, the people who have worked with him. You know, you don't hear anything bad about William Regal. So, do you have anything coming up that maybe you want to talk about before I get you off of here?
Anything coming up? I've got some local shows coming up, man. It'll be a relatively calm couple of weeks coming up. I will say, though, this weekend we have in Coppell, Texas, SOAR Championship Wrestling presents SOAR Mania, where I'm facing Gino Medina for the first time since, like, 2018. So I'm very excited to get in there with Gino again. Like I said earlier, I've got some going to hit some new countries this year, man. And I'll be putting out more info about that as everything comes up. But overall, my social medias, you can find all that like on my website, barrettbrownpro.com. I've got Facebook. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever we're calling that thing now. But I'm trying to put out more content. My YouTube channel is also on the website as well. Got a lot of cool content on there too. Probably, and chances are I've wrestled a name you may know on my channel that you have not seen yet. So go check out the channel for a lot of stuff. You're like, wow, he wrestled this guy? Yeah, I wrestled a lot of people. It's pretty cool. So, but I'm just very blessed to be doing what I love and to be able to talk about it on podcasts like this, man. So I appreciate you giving me this platform. I do appreciate it.
Definitely. And thank you for coming on here. You know, I've really enjoyed talking to you tonight. And
likewise, man.
Maybe we can do this again sometime in the future, you know, because
100%.
I'm sure there's plenty more that we could talk about, getting more in depth with some of the matches that you've had.
Yeah, I feel like we've scratched the surface. Yeah, we can get to the nitty gritty for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to talk to you for a few more minutes after we end this recording, but we're going to say bye here for now. Well, again, thank you so much for being on here, and have a good night.
You too, man. Thank you for having me.
If You Give a Dad a Podcast.